All right. So today we are celebrating Advaita Acharya's appearance day. So we're going to be speaking about him today. And we're going to be chanting again, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koromore. This is our Sunday program. For those of you watching online, this is our Sunday program, but we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 people in the temple room. The reason for that, we are snowed in. So just warning everybody, if the electricity goes off, then I'm going to go to my phone and use that for the class. And then we'll put my coat on, because it's going to start to get really cold. So, for those of you who are braving the inclement weather, Jagat Guru. So we're going to chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, and then we'll talk about Advaita Acharya. All right. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya Koromore. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Daya Koromore. Tumamina Kedayalo Jagat Samsare. Mamina Kedayalo Jagat Samsare. Patita Pavana Hetu Tavavatara. Patita Pavana Hetu Tavavatara. Moshama Patita Pramo Na Paivehara. Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhe. Premananda Sukhe. Kripa Balakan Akoro Ami Boruduke. Daya Koro Sita Pati Advaita Gosai. Tava Kripa Bole Pai Chaitanya Nityananda. Haha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha. Bhakta Duga Shijiva Prabhu Lokanath. Joya Guru Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas. Ramachandra sang Namage Narottama Das. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koromore. Tuma bin ke dayalo jagat samsare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Golokindana Radha Golokindana Gragate. Jaya Radha Golokindana Radha Golokindana Gragate. Jaya Radha, hey Jaya Radhe, Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, 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 Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Sri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya. Also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Machuradham Ki Jai. Jagadava Sami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale. Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Vacharni Nivashesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Dejatarni. Okay, give me a mala. So Ishwar, keep an eye on the broadcast TV, because sometimes it goes off and I'd have to put it back on again. Just make sure it stays on. Just sit down in a place where you can see it. So let me read the translation of this beautiful poem by Narottama Das Thakur. My dear Lord, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a more fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, You are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. I pray for the mercy of Swarup Damodar, the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Bhatta Raghunath Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and Lokanath Prabhu. I, Narottama Das, pray to the merciful Srinivasacharya, and I always desire the company of Ramachandra. So interesting, in this particular poem, in the 4th verse, there's a statement, my dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Yes, please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda will also be kind to me. So we are dependent on Advaita Acharya's mercy, and we're going to be speaking a little bit about how Advaita Acharya was the external cause for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this material world. Of course, there's also the internal cause, which we're not going to talk about today. So, Om Ganat Midandasha Garanjana Shlakya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tosmai Shigurave Namaha. So, first of all, we're going to talk about who Advaita Acharya is, what's called in philosophy ontology. Oh my God, big word. That means, what is his identity? I mean, I'll give you an example. What is my ontology? Jivara Swarupohai Nitya Krishna Das. A jiva soul, it's Mami Vangsa Jiva Bhute, Jiva Sanatana. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Mami Vangsa Jiva Bhuta. Okay. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana is part and parcel of Krishna. That's my ontological position. So, Advaita Acharya's ontological position is that he is non-different from Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, and non-different from Krishna, and non-different from Balaram, and non-different from Lord Ram, and non-different from Kurma, and non-different from Matsya. We can go through the whole list of avatars here. So why do we say this? Because of this famous verse in the Brahma Samhita, which is one of my favorite verses, Advaita Chuta Anadir Anantarupa Madhyam Purana Purusham Navayopanam Cha. That there's one God and he has many different manifestations of his personality depending on particular circumstances. So Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Nityananda are all in the category of Vishnu Tattva. They're all the same person, acting in different capacities. And so, Panchatattva, there's 5 members of the Panchatattva, and 3 of the members are Vishnu Tattva, and one of them is Shakti Tattva. That's an ontological position again. Shakti means the energy of the Lord, considered to be an expansion of Srimati Radharani. That's Gadadhar Pandit Goswami. And then one of them is Jiva Tattva, like us. Is there let me put some of this behind me. It gives me a little cushion for my back. That's better. One of them is Jiva Tattva, and that is Shivas Thakur, who is considered to be an incarnation of Narada Muni. Okay? So that's the ontological position. And also, he is called Sadashiva. Also, he is called Mahavishnu. So you have all these different labels or explanations of his ontological position. So what does that mean? Sadashiva, Mahavishnu. Who is Sadashiva anyway? Sadashiva is Vishnu Tattva, expansion of Lord Krishna, from whom the Lord Shivas in this material world expand. And Lord Shiva has many different expansions in this material world, such as the Rudra expansions, and such as the expansion that dances the Tandava Nritya, the dance at the time of the dissolution, the cosmic dissolution. So The Sadashiva is the source of all the different expansions of Shiva. And this Sadashiva appears in the Holy Dham, that is, Dvaitacharya appears in the Holy Dham, as the Dikpala. What does that mean? As the protector of the Holy Dham. Those of you who've been to Govardhan and Vrindavan with me know that I talk about Kundeshwara Mahadev. Remember that? You both remember that. Gopishwara Mahadev, right? No? You don't know what I'm talking about. That means Lord Shiva, or Sadashiva, appearing as the guardian of different aspects of the Holy Dham. Gopishwara Mahadev is actually an expansion of Lord Shiva, who is a lady. Gopishwara. And he guards Vrindavan. Kundeshwara guards Radha Kund. So also, I mean, it's really interesting. Also, Advaitacharya appears in Braj as a coward boy. That's pretty interesting. So he has that relationship in Braj. He appears in Braj as Gopishwara, Kundeshwara, and all the other different expansions. So, pretty interesting, isn't it? And so, of course, the word Advaita also means he's non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, a little bit about how he appeared in this world, because we know before the Lord appears in this world in his Leela aspect, he has his associates and expansions appear before him, just like Balaram appeared before Krishna, and Lord Nityananda appeared before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so Advaitacharya appeared before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was something like 40-something years older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was quite, let's say, externally an old person. So some people say that Advaitacharya appeared in Srihat, and other people say that he appeared in Shantipur. And his father is a very interesting personality. His father's name is Kubera Pandit. And Kubera Pandit is considered to be the appearance of who? Kuvera. Now, this is interesting, because we're going to make a little bit of a contrast between the pastime in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where you have Manigriva and Nalakuvara. Remember them? Where were they? They were in the Mandakini Ganges. The Mandakini Ganges, they were bathing, of course, with some pretty girls. So the Mandakini Ganges is in Kailash. Wow. And who was in charge of Kailash? Lord Shiva. And who's Lord Shiva's good buddy? Kuvera. That's why they were able to be there. Normally people can't go to Kailash unless they have some connections. And so they had some connections. So I'm just comparing it to what we're talking about now. So you had Kuvera, who resided in Kailash with Lord Shiva, and then you have Kuvera appearing as Lord Shiva's father. That's the point I'm making. It's interesting, isn't it? Never heard about that before. Because you have switching roles, so to speak. Isn't that interesting? So his father's name was Kubera Pandit, who's known, and his mother's name was Naba, and he was born in the Brajendra or Virendra Brahmin family. Most biographers say that he appeared in 1433 and left this world in 1558, so that's roughly 125 years he resided in this world. So before Advaitacharya appeared, his mother heard a divine voice stating that her son would be an expansion or an appearance of Lord Shiva. And in fact, in a dream, she saw a deity that's quite famous in Mayapur. It's called Harihara. Anyone's heard about that before? Harihara deity. It's like half Krishna, half Lord Shiva. Interesting. Harihara. Of course, we know the appearance of Lord Shiva in this world is in a different tattva than Vishnu tattva. But Sadashiva is Vishnu tattva, and from him expands the Lord Shivas of this world, which I explained before. And the Lord Shivas of this world are, in one sense, the Supreme Personality of Godhead coming in contact with the material nature. Of course, the Vishnu tattva appearances of the Lord never contact the material nature, but Lord Shiva consorts with Durga or the material energy. So anyway, so she saw Harihara before she gave birth, and then he was born. And he was immediately given the name Kamalaksha, which means lotus eyes, not beady eyes like Wes. And so, as he grew up, he got married at a very early age, and he married two wives who were both sisters, Sita, and sometimes he is called Sitapati. He's identified in terms of his wife, Sitapati. That's interesting. And she's considered an appearance of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Shri is considered, Shri the other wife, is considered an expansion of Yoga Maya. So Dvaitacharya, as a dutiful householder, had children. And so he had 6 children, and the story goes that 3 of them became devotees, famous devotees, and 3 of them became deviants. Just like we were hearing this morning, at least I made a comment this morning, that there's many deviant, where are you going? He's running away. Oh, something for my back. Yeah. Thank you. Parcel of getting old. You need. Oh, thank you. Oh, isn't that nice? So, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur give a whole list of deviant Vaishnav sects. And some of them, I'm not going to get into all those different Vaishnava sects. Kartabhaja, some of them like men dress as women, thinking they're going to enter the rasa dance. And some of them think that they're God. And there's one particular one that holds my interest right now. I'm not that I want to join them. It's called the Smartas. Smartas are those who try to impose ritualistic, quote, Vedic understandings upon Vaishnavism. And, for example, like when Prabhupada's disciples, some of them went to see one of Prabhupada's godbrothers or one of the Goswamis. The Goswami said, I give you a blessing to be born in Vrindavan so you can become born in a good family in the next life. And they went back to Prabhupada, and they told Prabhupada that story. And Prabhupada said, you can say that we're giving you a blessing to be born in ISKCON in the next life. So, anyway, so there's different deviant Vaishnava sects, and some of them are impersonalists. And Advaitacharya rejected those 3 sons. He considered them not to be his sons. Now, Advaitacharya also had this power that he offered obeisances to any deity, and if the deity wasn't being worshipped properly, or Krishna wasn't there, or the demigod wasn't there, the deity would explode. So one time he went to a Kali temple, offered obeisances to the deity, the goddess Kali, because goddess Kali was not being pleased. The goddess Kali wasn't there. And boom, the deity split. Ooh. Oh my God. And so there's one of the biographies of Advaita Acharyas. A lot of it's hagiography, but I'm going to give this particular story. It's called the Advaita Prakash. And there's a miracle. One time his guru, one of his, not his ultimate initiating guru, but his teacher, asked him to get a lotus flower from the Ganges. And at this particular location of the Ganges, there were many, many snakes and thorns. So he, at least the story goes, he walked on top of the water and got the lotus flower. So he served his mother and father very, very nicely as a dutiful son. Dutiful sons should do that. Remain with your mother and father, just serving them. Unless they give you to your guru. Anyway, so that's actually a higher principle. So anyway, so he served his mother and father until they passed away. Then he decided to go on pilgrimage. And he went to Gaya, obviously. That's where you usually go when your parents pass away. We don't have to do that, but that's the tradition. Because the lotus feet of Krishna or Vishnu were there. Lord Chaitanya went there, and that's where he met his spiritual master, and that's where he took initiation. So in Gaya, he met Madhavendra Puri. Now, eventually he will take initiation from Madhavendra Puri, but not at this particular juncture. So he met Madhavendra Puri for the first time. And we know Madhavendra Puri was the very source of ecstatic love of Godhead in our Sampradaya. And of course, he's the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri, who is the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, and then he continued his travel, going on pilgrimage after his parents died, and he arrived in Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, he went to this place called Dwadasadicha, the hill, Dwadasadicha, Til, which means hill. And he discovered a deity there. And that deity was Madan Gopal, which is his worshipable deity. And what he did, instead of taking the deity with him, he gave this deity to a Brahmin family in Mathura. Their particular caste was called Chobe, a Chobe Brahmin family. Later on, the family gave that deity to Sanatana Goswami, and that deity became known as Madan Mohan. There's a whole story about that. I mean, I guess I'll tell it real quickly. That basically, Sanatana Goswami went to the house of these brahmanas, and he saw them worshiping the deities in a very intimate way, because Madan Gopal was seated at the same dinner table as the family. And he was just, imagine, you're having dinner and you put Krishna there, sitting. Brother Golokananda, just give them a seat. Okay, this is your plate, this is my plate, let's take prasad. So, nice. Yeah, it was nice. But then Sanatana Goswami said, this is not the proper method of deity worship. You should put them on the altar. Then Sanatana Goswami had a dream that night, and he was chastised by the deity, and the deity said, you spoiled all my fun. Now I just have to sit on the altar. And so Sanatana Goswami didn't know what to do, but then Madan Gopal told him, I want to come with you, and Sanatana Goswami said no, but then Madan Gopal told this family, the Brahmin family, that give me to Sanatana Goswami. So the next day the Brahmin came to Sanatana Goswami and said, here's the deity. Madan Gopal said, you should take care of him. And Sanatana Goswami, I can't. I don't have time or anything to take care of this deity. So eventually Sanatana Goswami just hung the deity from a tree and offered him dry bread balls. And that's a famous story. And then he became Madan Mohan. When Madan Mohan arranged for his own salt, everybody knows that story. he arranged for his own salt and the money to construct a temple. So, and in Dvaitacharya's traveling, he also found a book called the Ananta Samhita, which mentioned about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then he went back to Shantipur. Actually, eventually, Dvaitacharya had a house in Shantipur and also in Mayapur. And he was challenged by a famous Digvijay. A Digvijay is a person who goes around arguing with everybody, thinking they're going to win. We have experience of modern-day Digvijays. Anyway, so he defeated him, and the Digvijay became his disciple. So, and he also had many, many pastimes with Haridas Thakur there. So he showed, that is, Advaitacharya showed, that someone should be respected as a Brahmin because of their qualities, not because of their birth, which completely counteracts this ritualistic smarta conception that we understand, according to Shastra, that if one considers a Vaishnava according to his birth or according to his body, his or her body, that person is a nara, is in hell, is a resident of hell. It's just like considering the deity to be made of stone. So, Advaitacharya showed us that Haridas Thakur was given the respect of the best of Brahmins, and how did he give him that respect? By giving him the Shraddha plate. The Shraddha plate is the plate that's offered to the ancestors, and it's given to the most respectable Brahmin. And so he gave that to Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, for those who don't know, was born in a non-Vedic family, Muslim family. And he was simply absorbed in chanting the Lord's holy names. Also, Dvaitacharya showed us that the chanting of the holy names is the most important activity. So, then Advaitacharya returns to Navadvip. As I mentioned, he had houses in Navadvip and also Shantipur. And he meets Madhavendra Puri and took initiation from him at that time. So Advaitacharya is actually the godbrother of Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master. So that's why Lord Chaitanya respected him, not just because he was older, but he was the godbrother of the spiritual master. That's a certain etiquette that one has to show respect for. And Madhavendra Puri shortly thereafter left this world in Ramuna. Ramuna is the place where Shirachura Gopinath is, the deity who stole the sweet rice from Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri's samadhi is there, and all sorts of other Vaishnavas' samadhis are there. And I don't think there's anyone here who went there with me, but no. Some people online. Sadhvi is there. She went there with me. She's online. So, in Navadvip, he also opened up a Sanskrit school and gave initiation to Jagannath Mishra and Sachi. Wow. Initiated them in the 4-syllable Gopal mantra. For those of you who want to know what the Gopal mantra is, we have our own Gopal mantra, which is more than 4 syllables, which is the next to the last Gayatri mantra. It's called the Gopal mantra. I can't tell you, because I'd be initiating you in that mantra. It's not. I'm not authorized to say it. Okay. It's like the Gayatri mantra. We don't say it publicly, although you can Google it nowadays and find it on the internet. But it doesn't work unless you're initiated. You know, you can find so many mantras. You can find the Brahmastra mantra, and to kill people, and it doesn't work. I tried it. It doesn't work. So at that time, Advaitacharya saw that in Navadvip and in the surrounding area, people were just like becoming deviants. In other words, either they declared themselves to be Vaishnavas and they weren't, or they were just out and out atheists and Nayaks, just engaged in argumentation. And so he thought, I have to save these people. But even though he was God, he thought, I can't do it. Now, there's reasons for that. Because in Kali Yuga, of course, the Dharma is Krishnanam Sankirtan, which Advaitacharya understood. But in Kali Yuga, it requires someone teaching about Braj Bhakti to save the conditioned souls. And so Krishna had to personally appear because Advaitacharya, in his mood as Sadashiva, wasn't his mood. And also it was his humility that we need, the original. Well, of course, Advaitacharya is Krishna again. This is a great mystery. But we need Krishna, we need myself in my original form coming here. So he goes and he starts worshiping Tulsi Devi with the Ganges, worships Krishna with Tulsi Devi, Ganges, like that. He has a Shalagram Shila. Now, the interesting thing is, you think about it, he is also non-different from the Shalagram Shila. It's actually quite interesting. He's like worshiping himself. And also, he's worshiping himself with the water that washed his feet. Because where did the Ganges come from? Anyone know? Anyone know where the Ganges came from? No, the Ganges came from Lord Vamana kicking a hole in the universe. Right? And so Lord Shiva also, but it's interesting because Lord Shiva caught the Ganges in his hair because he wanted. The story is because the Ganges was proud, but actually he just wanted the mercy of the foot water. The real reason is he was looking for an excuse because he wanted the foot water from Lord Vamanadev. You understand? Because Lord Vamana kicked the hole in the universe, and all the Ganges water that came through or past his foot, was washing his foot. So Advaitacharya, getting back to the story, Advaitacharya is worshiping the Shalagram Shila with his foot bathing. And water that had briefly touched his head is Sadashiva. It's such an interesting point. I thought I would make that. I just think it was. Yeah, he's praying for himself to come down, and he's worshiping himself, the Shalagram Shila, with water that has bathed his feet. Think about that. There's all the pastimes. The Lord assumes all these different forms. And so, okay, that was really funny. Anyway, so he's praying like that, praying like that, praying that. And we know that's the external reason for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And also, his statements were the external reason for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance, too, which we'll get to at the end of this class if we have time. So he's in Navadvip, and Lord Chaitanya is born. Of course, we know that Sita, Advaitacharya's wife, cared for Sachimata when Sachimata was pregnant. But Advaitacharya at that point didn't know that Lord Chaitanya was himself. He didn't know that. He didn't know that. So this is Krishna's Yogamaya. And you see this in the interactions between Krishna and Balaram, Lakshman and Ram and Bharat and Shatrughna. They're all the same persons. It's very interesting how the Lord plays out his pastimes. So, he's in Navadvip, and Advaitacharya doesn't know, who else is the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. So, he's giving classes daily on Krishna consciousness, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's brother, Visvarup, is regularly visiting to hear the Krishna Katha. It's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that Vishwarup would not even leave the association of Advaitacharya to go home to take prasad. So his mother, Sachimata, the same mother as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has, had to send food over, prasadam over, with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was just a little baby at that time. Baby, 4 years old or something. And when Advaitacharya saw this little boy, he just thought, oh my God, he's so attractive. But what's wrong with me? Because I'm only attracted by Krishna, so why am I attracted to this little boy, those of us who are conditioned, we get attracted by little kids. Isn't he cute? All that other stuff like that. But Advaitacharya was attracted to this little boy like he was attracted to Krishna. And that's because the little boy was Krishna. So Vishwarupa is going daily. And eventually he gets so inspired by Advaitacharya that when his parents, Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra, are planning to get him married, he hears from the next room, he just leaves. And it's not Advaita Prabhu's fault. But Sachimata is thinking in her mind. She doesn't even say it to anybody, but she's thinking in her mind, this Advaita is actually Dvaita. In other words, he's two-faced. He's a politician. That's really what it means. He doesn't tell the truth. He cheats. And so in her mind, there's sort of an offense. It's a pastime against Advaitacharya. So we'll get to that in a second. Actually, I can tell the story right now. Because one time during this 72-hour Mahaprakash, in which Lord Chaitanya is sitting on the altar the whole time, and he's blessing everybody with pure love. And he's blessing everybody except for his mother. And the devotees ask, why aren't you blessing your mother? And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, because she's an offender. And they're thinking, how can God's mother be an offender? And they asked, why is it? And he said, she's offended Advaitacharya by calling him two-face. And so when Sachimata hears this, she dives at the feet of Advaitacharya, and Advaitacharya simultaneously dives at her feet. And then Lord Chaitanya says, now I can give her love of God. So the point is, even if you're the mother of God, you have to be careful about Vaishnava Aparada, even in your mind. Very important lesson for us. So, we mentioned about Lord Advaitacharya's sons. He had one famous son, actually they're all famous, named Achyutananda, which is actually his main son, the main son who carried on his legacy. So, once upon a time, Advaitacharya was asked by someone, who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master? Who gave him sannyas? And Advaitacharya answers, Kesava Bharati. And Achyutananda, Advaitacharya's son, gets so angry with his father, he starts to yell at his father. He says, how can you think that someone can be the spiritual master of God? You're an atheist. And Advaitacharya goes so pleased. Oh my God, he has full faith in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even he accepts the chastisement of his son, which is an interesting story. So later on, in Navadvip, Advaitacharya got very upset that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was respecting him. He was respecting him as an elder, as a godbrother of his spiritual master. And so Advaitacharya thought, let me hatch a plan where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will disrespect me. So he was thinking, he said, I'm going to make it true. So he started to teach impersonal philosophy. He taught that, actually, it's called the Yoga Vashishta. Actually, the form of Krishna is temporary. We worship Krishna in order to merge in the Brahman effulgence. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that, he got so angry that he called for Lord Nityananda. He said, let's go to Shantipur to see this old man. And so Lord Nityananda accompanied him, and there's a famous story that happened on the way. They stopped in the house of a Shakta, that means one who worships the energy of the Lord. And they were entertained by him and given some food. And they took the food, and after eating, the Shakta asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, would you like some happiness? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being very innocent, he said, what is happiness? And Lord Nityananda, not being so innocent, said, it's liquor. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got so upset that they had taken prasadam there, or taken food there, that he jumped into the Ganges. And he and Lord Nityananda basically swam the rest of the way to Shantipur. So anyway, so he arrives in Shantipur, and he arrives at the door of Advaita Acharya and says, where's that old man? And then he grabs him and starts pummeling him over and over. You're teaching nonsense. And Sita, Advaita Acharya's wife, says, you're going to kill the old man. And Lord Chaitanya says, I don't care. He's teaching nonsense. And Advaita Acharya starts dancing in ecstasy. Finally, I've got what I wanted. So, I'm sure Lord Chaitanya didn't hurt him too much. So, eventually, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes sannyas, and Lord Chaitanya wants to go to Vrindavan immediately, but he is misled by Lord Nityananda, who tells him that the Ganges is the Jamuna River. And Lord Chaitanya jumps in thinking it's the Yamuna River, and actually it is the Yamuna River in one sense, because the Yamuna River actually flows into the Ganges and the Triveni, and they are running together. But anyway, he jumps in, and then he sees Advaita Acharya. He's in Shantipur on a boat. And he says, what are you doing in Vrindavan? And Advaita Acharya brings him to his home and gives him something to eat, gives him a clean clothes. And at that time, there's an interesting story, and actually I have the citation of this story, which is so interesting I have to read it, in which Advaita Acharya fights with Lord Nityananda. This is actually, let me pick this story. This is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Nityananda said, I had undergone fasting for 3 days continuously. Today I had hoped to break my fast. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking that the quantity of food was enormous, Nityananda Prabhu, on the contrary, thought it was not even a morsel. He had been fasting for 3 days and had greatly hoped to break fast on that day. Indeed, he said, although I am invited to eat by Advaita Acharya, today is also a fast. So small a quantity of food will not even fill half my belly. Advaita Acharya replied, Sir, you are a mendicant traveling on pilgrimage. Remember, Lord Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, the same person, just sometimes you eat fruits and roots, and sometimes you simply go on fasting. Lord Nityananda said, I am a poor Brahmin, and you have come to my home. Please, please be satisfied with whatever little food you have received and give up your greedy mentality. Lord Nityananda said, whatever I may be, you have invited me. Therefore, you must supply as much as I want to eat. Advaita Acharya, after hearing the statement of Nityananda Prabhu, took the opportunity presented by the joking words and spoke to him as follows. He said, you are a reject Paramahamsa, and you have accepted the renounced order of life, that's sannyas, just to fill up your belly. I can understand that your business is to give trouble to brahmanas. Advaitacharya said to Nityananda, "You can eat 10 to 20 manas of rice. I am a poor Brahmin. How shall I get so much rice? Whatever you have, there'll be a poundful of rice. Please eat it and get up. Don't show your madness and strew the remnants of food here and there." So, anyway, I'm going to skip a little, because this describes Lord Chaitanya eating too. So eventually Lord Nityananda said, "My belly is not yet filled up. Please take away your food. I have not taken the least of it." After saying this, Nityananda Prabhu took a handful of rice, threw it on the floor in front of him as if he were angry. When 2 or 4 pieces of the rice touched his body, Advaitacharya began to dance in various ways with the rice still stuck to his body. When the rice thrown by Nityananda Prabhu touched his body, Advaitacharya thought himself purified by the touch of the remnants thrown by Paramahamsa Nityananda. Therefore he began dancing. Advaitacharya jokingly said, you could see that such a sense of humor. "My dear Nityananda, I invited you, and indeed I've received the results. You have no fixed caste or dynasty. By nature you are a madman. To make me a madman like yourself, you have thrown the remnants of food at me. You do not even fear the fact that I'm a Brahmin." Nityananda Prabhu replied, "These are the remnants of food left by Lord Krishna. If you take them to be ordinary remnants, you have committed an offense." Nityananda Prabhu continued, "If you invite at least 100 sannyasis to your home and feed them sumptuously, your offense will be nullified." And Advaitacharya replied, "I shall never again invite another sannyasi. For as a sannyasi would spoil all my Brahminical smriti regulations." This is exactly what we were talking about, smriti regulations. Okay. So anyway, that was a wonderful fight. So Advaitacharya sometimes would visit Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. And one time in Jagannath Puri, Advaitacharya's other son, Gopal, fainted in ecstasy. And Advaitacharya was in so much anxiety, "My son, my son, my son." And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to him and said, "Get up." Is it all right? What? Oh, you just use the thing. Get the camera to shift back to me. You know how to use that, right? Okay, they can still hear me. That's all right. So, okay, getting back to the point for those of you online. So anyway, he got up and started to dance and chant. And there's another interesting story that Advaitacharya had a servant named Kamalakanta Vishvasa. And this servant understood that Advaitacharya had a lot of debts. So he went to the king, the servant, to beg for money to pay Advaitacharya's debts. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that, he said, "How can you think the Supreme Personality of Godhead has debts?" He said, "I don't want to see your face again." And then Advaitacharya goes to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, "Now I can understand how dear this Kamalakanta is to you, because you have chastised him, where you only give me sweet words." And Lord Chaitanya started laughing and said, "Kamalakanta can come back and see me again. It's fine." And then Advaitacharya says, "You've cheated me 2 times. You've forgiven him, and then you chastised him." And Advaitacharya's pastimes with Lord Nityananda continued even in Jagannath Puri. I mean, there's stories when they were in the Indradunya lake. Lord Nityananda and Advaitacharya, they would fight. You got back on me yet? Almost. It shifted. Yeah, there's a little problem with it. But they can hear the class at least. Better they see Krishna than me anyway. So anyway, they were playing in the Indradunya lake, and the devotees, because Indradunya lake is connected with the Gundicha temple, which represents Vrindavan, and the devotees were imitating frogs. I mean, here were grown men. Advaitacharya, probably 80-something years old. imitating frogs and jumping and splashing water. And Lord Nityananda and Advaitacharya were fighting again, and Lord Nityananda won, and he was splashing water in Advaitacharya's face, and Advaitacharya couldn't see, and he called him a lot of bad names. Then Lord Chaitanya called for Advaitacharya, and Advaitacharya assumed the form of Ananta Shesh and was holding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu up in the Indradunya lake. So anyway, many stories. So I just want to end with how Advaitacharya gave the final message to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu: it was time to leave this world. So he called for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come, and then he told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to leave. And so this message goes as follows, and the message was given through this devotee, Jagadananda Pandit, who interestingly enough is an incarnation of Satyabhama. The message goes: please inform Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is acting like a madman, that everyone here has become mad like him. Inform him also that in the marketplace, it's working all right? That's all right. At least they can hear. Can you say, put it on the deities at least? Krishna didn't want people to see me. There's one button you can press it. It's going? The door. Which door? What? Okay. What if he just unplugs it and plugs it back in again? Yeah, because we'll still be online with class. Sorry, there's a little glitch here, but at least we still have light. So anyway, please inform, just unplug it for a second and plug it back in. Please inform Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is acting like a madman, that everyone here has become mad like him. Inform him also that in the marketplace there is no longer, rice is no longer in demand. In other words, everyone's become ecstatic. Time for you to go back. Don't go back to the spiritual world. Further, tell him that those now mad in ecstatic love are no longer interested in the material world. Also tell Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one who has also become a madman in ecstatic love, that is Advaitacharya, has spoken these words. So now I'm going to read from the Anchalila 1923. Is it working now? See? Little technical expertise here. So after hearing the equivocal sonnet by Advaitacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quietly smiled. This is his order. Then he fell silent. Although he knew the secret, Swarup Damodar Goswami inquired from the Lord, "What is the meaning of this sonnet?" I could not understand it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, Advaitacharya is a great worshipper of the Lord and is very expert in regulative principles enjoined in the Vedic literatures. Advaitacharya invites the Lord to come and be worshipped, and to perform the worship, he keeps the deity for some time. After the worship is completed, he sends the deity somewhere else. He's referring to himself. I do not know the meaning of this sonnet, nor do I know what is in Advaita Prabhu's mind. Advaitacharya is a great mystic. No one can understand him. He is expert in writing sonnets that even I myself cannot understand. So after that time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited extreme symptoms of ecstasy, even banging his head on the wall, not the Gundisha temple, the Gambhira, and then disappearing in the middle of the night and jumping into the ocean. So, and he disappeared into the Tota Gopinath deity. Lord Chaitanya disappeared in the Tota Gopinath. And Advaitacharya disappeared, expressing pain how people were not properly respecting Lord Chaitanya. And at the end, Advaitacharya was saying, "Where is my Gauranga? Where is my Gauranga? Where is my Gauranga?" And he finally said, here he is. He entered the temple of Madan Gopal, and he disappeared. This is not the same temple of Madan Gopal. He had a deity of Madan Gopal in Shantipur, too. There's a picture of that. I have a slideshow, and there's a picture of that. And so he disappeared in that temple. Just entered the deity room and disappeared. And that's how Advaitacharya left this world. So today is the appearance day of Advaitacharya, and we beg him for his mercy that we can have the darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the other members of the Panchatattva. So any questions or comments? Yes. Yeah. It requires some study. You can ask me. I mean, there are different branches. I mean, there's like Prabhupada's godbrothers established different branches, the Gaudiya Maths, and many of them are just bona fide, and they're serving Krishna in their own way. But it's a philosophical misunderstanding. Not simply that there's a different organization and they're considered deviants. That one would have a misunderstanding either of the Siddhanta, that's a conclusion, or of the practices. You know, you may have some deviant Vaishnavas, for example, who smoke marijuana. So that's a practice. They may have the same philosophy as us, but the practice is deviant. Or the Prakriti Sahajas. Or the Saki, there's the Saki Bakis. There's the men, they're the men who dress up like women. They put lipstick on and everything like that. Did you see any of them when you were in Vrindavan? Yeah. They're used to be quite common. Men. Many of them are, they say they're Gaudiyas. They're a deviant sect of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And they said they worship Lord Chaitanya and they want to become gopis. And that's their methodology for becoming gopis. Or you may have people take things very cheaply and give unqualified people siddha pranali, even though their philosophy is correct, but their application is a problem. So, the question.